Welcome to the 10th and final episode of Season 2 of No Hacks Podcast with my guest and neighbor, Bjarn Brunenberg. Bjarn, welcome to the podcast finally.
Thank you so much, Sonny.
Today, we are talking about aligning business goals with OKRs and metrics. Now, what are OKRs? First question.
Yeah, so for people not familiar with OKRs, OKRs stand for Objective Key Result. And it's basically a framework that helps you achieve goals and to measure the steps in between. And I think of it you can think of it like this. Your objective is your big goal, right? Your North Star. And objectives are basically the steps in between to measure success.
Okay, so are KPIs part of the framework or how does it work?
That's a good question, because most of the times people might confuse OKRs with KPIs, with metrics, with business goals, with all this stuff. Talking about KPIs and OKRs specifically, they're not the same, right? OKR stand for, it's about the goal setting and achieving them and how to do that. And KPIs is really about how to measure that. So key performance indicators showing what are my most important metrics that gives the indication of...
So basically the thing you see in the CEO's dashboard, that's KPIs.
Exactly, that's KPIs.
Okay.
It's the heartbeat of the business, basically.
Yeah, when it's red, it's bad, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That explains it. Even I got it now. But yeah, let's talk about your role. You work as head of experimentation at TomTom. You've been with them for 4 years now. And what do you do at TomTom? Are you still making those quirky devices?
Yeah, everyone asks me, it's the first question I get when I go to a conference. It's like, I work for TomTom, that's great, but what are they doing nowadays? Right. So yes, in the past they have been very famous for those navigation index devices stuck into the window. But yeah, nowadays it's quite an interesting story really, because they shifted the whole company from hardware now going to software. And you have basically two big departments. We're still a map company, right? We're selling maps, map technology. It's both for B2B brands. Most people don't know, but actually in the Netherlands, 1 out of 3 cars you see driving has TomTom technology in the car.
Device or technology?
No, the technology really.
It's a technology company and not a hardware company these days.
Exactly.
Okay.
And my role specifically is that we're moving away from those devices, right? To now we have a Go navigation app. So TomTom app.
Right.
And I'm trying to, we are as a team, in the product team, we're trying to make that app better, understand our customers, and get the challenge with Waze, Google Maps, that kind of stuff.
That's very interesting. Let's talk about aligning business goals with OKRs. And we talked about the concept of OKRs. What are some of the key challenges that you've seen working with OKRs?
Yeah. So the most thing I've seen with setting OKRs, most of the time it starts at management level, right? And I see management are setting very ambitious OKRs or goals. Most of the time they are saying, we need to hit X amount of revenue in quarter 4, for example. And the challenge really is that it is not only very vague, but it doesn't give teams a sense of belonging.
Right.
And the thing is this, because it's revenue and multiple teams are working eventually to higher goal of revenue. Everyone has an impact on revenue as a team. But I would like to know what my team specifically contributes to, right, to a specific metric that is lower than that.
Let's say you have defined your OKRs. You have aligned, the company is aligning, we are going to use this framework. This is going to help us. How do you transform your OKRs once you know what they are into actionable things that can be something employees in the company can understand and really feel they're part of?
Yeah, great question. First off, it's if you're not hitting your goals, I don't think the problem is ambition.
Right.
I think it's alignment. And so how do you get that alignment? Actually, was quite an interesting study from Harvard Business Review. And what they did is that they interviewed 500 employees across 12 different companies. And they asked a simple question. They asked, do you think you are aligned on your company strategy? And most of the people said, yes, we are.
What's the percentage?
82%.
That's high.
That's quite high.
That's quite high.
Then the funny thing comes. They were asking the same people, okay, then write down the strategic goals of the company. And only 23% of people were able to do that.
Why does that even happen? How could that happen in the first place?
Yeah, I think it's most of the time management, they look from things from above. And how teams are viewing the strategy is really, the teams are seeing it very differently on the ground. And so, why is this happening? It has to do with, again, the alignment, right? You need to be aligned. And it doesn't come from fancy PowerPoint slides. It doesn't come from quality meetings, right? It comes really to talk to you, teams, really get it aligned. And what I mean is like really embedded into, not quarterly, but embedded into weekly.
It's mostly a communication issue.
That's one. And the other thing is that it's not only the fault of the management, right? Because it's also our fault. And I think that's also...
Wait, you're the management. You're head of experimentation. Don't say our fault like I'm the common people. No.
No, I'm common people. I'm the people on the ground. What I'm trying to say is that, we didn't talk about this yet, but right, we have management who wants to achieve a certain goal, right? That's the OKRs.
Right.
And we have people, management wants to do the team exactly certain things and certain actions. And there's a gap in between that. And I think there's a strategic gap.
Let's talk about how you make that gap go away.
Right? I started thinking about this. So a personal story is that I was sometimes getting a little bit frustrated about when we had these quality meetings and we were going about revenue and they say, we need to hit this amount of revenue. I was like, yeah, that's great. But, I want something more tangible. And we had these long meetings and I was like, okay, maybe I can figure out something else. So what I started doing, just mapping it out. And by doing some research, I fell in love with 2 frameworks, which I absolutely love. And it clarifies everything. One is using KPI tree. It's a great framework. What it does is that you start with a big picture, big hairy goal of management, right? The revenue target. You break that down into KPIs.
Right.
We talked about KPIs before, right? So what the most important metrics is. The problem with KPIs is that they are often lagging indicators. So what you want to do then is to break those even further down into sub-metrics. And you want those sub-metrics to be leading indicators.
Right.
So something where they can see directly impact on as a team, right?
But that's not easy. That doesn't sound like an easy process.
I thought it looked so easy. I started doing it on Miro. You're mapping it out. But when you do that exercise, you figure out it's not that easy. Why? Because you figure out that I don't 100% understand what management really wants to see and what they really mean and which direction you need to go. But I guarantee you, if you use the KPI tree, it gives so much clarification. Another one, I said I was going to give you 2 metrics, right? After two frameworks. And actually, I learned this from Ruben de Boer. And he was talking about Opportunity Solutions Tree by Teresa Torres. And these 2 frameworks perfectly align. Because if you just mapped out what I just said, right? Big hairy goals, KPI, submetrics. What Teresa Torres basically does is like you have these OKRs, your goals. And she says, that is great, but we need to break them down further. All right? So she says, we want to break them down into opportunities. And what an opportunity is here is really basically about your customer pains, friction, desires, what they have. And if you map them out, that gives more clarity, but how do you find these? There's research, combining qualitative and quantitative research.
Why does everything go back to doing research, man? Do you do anything in life without proper research?
That's a good question.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I mean, someone else can do it for you if you trust that someone else. Everything always go back to that.
I mean, you can't try to do without research, right? You can't just fire out tests.
No, sometimes you have to.
Be lucky.
Sometimes, no, but sometimes when you're just starting, when there's no data, you have to.
That's true. That's also true.
Of course, but if you have all the data, if you have the opportunity to do proper research, and you don't because you're lazy, you should know better. Like, you should know better.
Well,
Come on.
one counter argument about this, Sunny, sorry.
Yeah.
But most of the times, I see this trend as well from managers.
Right.
Is that they see that CRO and growth is kind of this tool that it just makes some money quickly, right? And what I see is that they put pressure. You try to put out tests because you need to hit a certain velocity, and you I did it as well. I dropped my research. I just cannot always do all the research.
Have I told you about sports betting? Because basically that's what you're doing. You're just gambling.
Yeah, that's true.
It makes
gambling.
no sense. You need to do your research, people.
No.
Brush your teeth, do your research, do that stuff.
This is about getting strategic, right? So
Yes. OKRs and product development, because you're a product development guy at TomTom, not just experimentation lead, I guess. It's not your official title, but that's what you do. You develop the product. How can OKRs be used in a product development cycle? And when should they be used? Or what are some of the common pitfalls? What should people avoid?
Yeah, so common pitfalls for OKR, setting those OKRs, especially in product. I think one is setting an OKR being too vague, right? So it's like, again, if you take we're going to hit this amount of revenue, that is a great ambitious goal.
Right.
But it is too vague. It doesn't ring a bell for anyone. So for example, what you want to do is say, get a closer metric that's close to your hearts. And for example, for us, that was in our app onboarding, we want to get more people to start a trial. So for us, it would be, for example, increase trial conversion rates by 3%. And then it's about, okay, that is the goal, right? It's very specific, very measurable. And then I just write down key results, how to achieve that. So for example, do 10 usability tests, run 15 paywall tests, makes it actionable and trackable.
But that's the thing. You need to know what you want to achieve, and it kind of has to make sense, because if not, you're just Dr. Evil asking for $1 million, just pulling that number from 40 years ago. One last question about OKRs, then we get to the fun rapid fire segment and talking about life and everything else. One more question is, how do you ensure those measurable key results? How do you ensure that you know where you're going, essentially?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing is that if you can't measure it, it's a bad metric, right? It's not people on the ground versus management and their vision, right? Yeah. We need to work together, and that's where experimentation comes in. Management wants to achieve certain goals. We have the knowledge. We need to use experimentation to solve strategic business goals, right? So strategic business decisions, to help them, not against them. Doesn't work.
And I love how it's still people on the ground from those factories 100 years ago, where there's a staircase, and then the boss is up there looking through a glass wall, making sure you're productive. It's not like that anymore.
But how would you explain the 60% gap then, right?
Well, that's how.
Yes, exactly.
That's how you explain it, of course. Okay, let's just have a rapid fire section here. I have a few questions for you. The first one is, give me your funniest experimentation failure from TomTom or wherever else.
Yeah, funniest experimentation failure. I think it was on. So I think it was on the paywall, and it's not. I think it's not. It's not funny. It's not funny. I don't think I have funny experimentation failures.
Everything is funny if enough time has passed.
Exactly right. So yeah, I think on the paywall, So at some point we want to do a lot more velocity of testing, and we are very lean in our team. And I was designing stuff, and we were playing with pricing, right? We were testing with pricing. And I figured out after a test was running, I just put it live. Somehow we have a habit of pushing a lot of stuff live on Fridays, which is not a good thing. So I looked at Monday or Tuesday, and I found out that the price point was completely wrong. People were going to different pricing, which was not good. And we got some complaints. And yeah, my learning out of it was, and now we have a structured Q&A, right? Some checklists what I go through.
How do you feel about pricing tests in general? Because I'm not. It's not ethical, is it? Right?
It's not. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Besides the ethical part, the biggest upsides we have seen is pricing testing. And how can I test pricing without showing different prices to users? I have actually no idea.
To clarify, split testing. If you test one price 1 month and then change the price, I kind of get, but
no.
It's like walking into a Turkish bazaar and the salesperson that looks at you, it's 100 euros for you, my friend.
No, that is not okay. No, I mean, I
Okay.
really like A/B testing,
Okay.
right? 50-50, same experience. People get the same experience,
Okay,
same segment.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, next question is, what was the major learning from my mistake moment for you professionally?
The major mistake of the major learning of a mistake.
Lesson from a mistake, yes.
Lesson
There's
from a mistake.
big difference there.
Yeah, the lesson from a mistake. I mean, I make a lot of mistakes, so I
Dude,
just try to-
that's
try to-
everyone did.
right.
Come on.
So, I think one mistake I made is that I thought sometimes I was knowing better than other
Okay.
people, like in the sense of like, I want to have it in a certain way. I want my process to be in a certain way. I need to be
Sounds
rigid.
like
Tack,
every
tack, tack.
CRO person I ever met, by the way. That's junior and not like mellowed down from years of expertise. Like,
Right.
everyone thinks this is our way is the best way.
Yes, exactly.
Continue, please.
Exactly. And I literally, a manager told me and said like, Bjarn, the process is great and looks great in theory, but in practice can be very different. And I was like,
Exactly.
ouch.
Yep.
And he's completely right. And I learned that the hard way as well.
Yep.
And so, yes, you have your process. Yes, you have the things of doing, but be flexible, right? And if
Right.
management wants to do something else, try it out.
The management knows more than you do. If you're a CRO or experimentation person, you know the processes. There are things you know, but your circle is this. Their circle is like this big.
Yeah.
The things they're dealing with. Listen to them and help them. Like that.
Exactly.
There's always an easy way to deal with a hippo or whatever you want to call
Don't
it.
fight the hippo.
Don't
Hug
fight
them,
a hippo.
Love
Yeah,
them.
please don't fight
Work
the hippo.
with them.
Exactly.
Find a way to strategically test with
Feed the
them.
hippo.
Feed
Like-
the hippo. Yeah.
One more favorite optimization tool before we move on.
Favorite optimization tool. So we are working now with a tool no one basically knows. It's called Purchase Lead. Maybe not my favorite, but it's super efficient. So what it does, I'm developing onboarding screens in the app.
Oh, wow.
And what this tool helps me to do is like I can do UX changes or setting up experiments, completely change the whole UX or structure of those app
Right.
screens without a single hand of development needed.
So, and it puts them in the app as well. Like
Exactly.
it's not just mock-ups. Okay.
No. So it's actually only until the paywall for now. Really in the app, not
Right.
because I
Right,
definitely
okay.
need developers. But
Very
that is
cool.
tool.
That's a cool one.
It's efficient.
Let's talk about life and applying the OKR mindset and framework to life. I don't think a lot of people do, to be honest, especially calling them OKRs. But how do you use the OKR principles, the main principles of that framework in your life to achieve your personal goals?
Yeah. So OKRs are all about setting ambitions, goals, right? And you put steps in between to figure out how you're going to measure that to
Right.
get there.
Okay.
And I love to think about things. I love to think about not only my career, but also personal life of like, where do I want to go in 3 years, 5 years from now? And asking those questions also in OKR settings, it's trying to give you like this roadmap where you want to go. But the hardest thing is to figure out where you want to go, right?
Yes, it is.
The objective, what is your goal?
Usually it is, yes.
And to be very honest, a couple of weeks ago, I felt overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by information, also on LinkedIn or internet. I was like, oh, do I want to go tap into AI courses? Or I want to do this on
Right.
LinkedIn? Or I need to learn Portuguese. My wife is Brazilian. I go every year to Brazil. I want to talk to my sogrinha better and better.
Of course.
You want to improve, I know, keynote speaking.
Right.
All those kind of things, is in your head. So how do you map them out? I kid you not, I just bought 3 papers, pretty big A2 papers, put them in the bedroom wall,
Okay.
put sticky notes, like every thought I have, put sticky notes on there, and then I figured out some way of like what I definitely want to go and which one I don't want to go
Right.
by clustering some interests of mine.
So did that help clarify what you want to do in life?
It did. It definitely did. And it's also, I think the most thing to talk about is first figuring out where you want to go. How to do that is really talk to people. Networking really helps
Right.
for me. and allow yourself some, you don't have to be on top of everything all the time. Right? Allow yourself some focus. And I think focus is really the key point here. Also with OKRs, with focus, you have a lot of things you say no to as well if you have a certain goal.
It makes sense. Let's say you talked about the sticky notes and all that. You have to structure a hypothesis statement for something you want to achieve in your life.
Yeah.
What's the process there?
Hypothesis statement in life.
Yes.
Right? So I want to have focus. My objective was, okay, how do I get more focus? For example, I feel a bit overwhelmed. Other people might have the same. I did something super easy. Behind me and my apartment is a park.
Okay.
I go there. I said to myself, okay, every time during lunch, I go to the park. I go and I just walk around for 45 minutes. Maybe even I listen to a podcast or ramble stuff to ChatGPT as my personal shrink.
Of course.
But yeah, and that helped me relax, put my thoughts out. And for example, if I put it on ChatGPT, I ramble all my thoughts. At the end, I just say, okay, give me a summary or action points, what came out of my thoughts. And it just gives me a structured list of like 5 things we talked about. And it's like, nice. I can use that.
That's a good ChatGPT use. It's almost like it's built for things like this. It's almost like it's I wouldn't say a therapist. I would not say a therapist, but as something to, and this is, I don't think it's used for this often, something to throw ideas at and not get feedback because it's not a feedback thing. It's not, it doesn't have a brain, but to summarize those so you can find the patterns in all of your ideas and find the next thing that you should be doing. I think it's really good for that. So I like that. And yeah, the 45-minute walk every day. I mean, for me, I literally run here almost every day these days. And it's the same thing.
Right.
The clarity, if you don't have the clarity, everything you do is going to be messed up. One final question about real-world application of what you do. You do product development. You work in product development strategies and then work with strategies, all that. How do the strategies that you use in your product development apply? How can you apply them in your real-world challenges? Because an app, a TomTom app or another app is so virtual. Like you can't touch your phone, but not like it's just code. How does that translate to real world?
Yeah. So for me, I actually have I set myself a bigger personal goal, and like I said, I told you about the sticky notes, right? I was thinking about all the stuff I care about and what I want to do, and I set my goal. I want to be a keynote speaker at the Growth Conference of Brazil. And why I love it as well is because it takes all these little elements I care about.
Exactly.
So why Brazil? My wife is Brazilian and I love the Brazilian culture. Also puts me in the spot like getting more engaged with the Brazilian community. I mean, Growth and Zero doesn't only live in the Netherlands, the UK, Denmark, Sweden. It lives. Okay, maybe not that much in Portugal.
It's just the central Amsterdam area. That's what growth and experimentation are.
I think we should also get that infused in here, like in Portugal.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that for sure.
And the Brazilian market is blowing up also in this. And Brazil is huge.
Yeah.
So, and besides that, it's also for me to learn the language.
So how do you apply product development strategies to that?
Yeah, so I would get back. I love geeking out about strategies, right? So I would say, what is the goal? What is the measurements to success to get there? For me, it would like be learning Portuguese, practice my keynote speaking, get involved with the community there. And if I think about opportunity solutions trees from Theresa May, I'll think like, what are the opportunities I have? How can I make use of them?
Right.
And how can I apply some experimentation and growth mindset to achieve that? Yeah.
So one step at a time and be strategic about every single step. Sounds like the answer to all of life's questions. When you're struggling with something, just break it down.
Yes.
Walk away from the problem like you do for 45 minutes every day. Running away from run away like I do from your problems. Literally. And I mean, it's kind of similar with product development. You need fresh mindset applied to the problem. And usually in product development, that's a different person. In real life, it can just be you rested or in a better mood or whatever it is. That is wonderful. So we explained that OKRs are not KPIs. We talked about the difference. We talked about hippos, and we talked about why OKRs are really something that is an organization-wide thing, and that is the only way it can work. So I can only thank you for being a wonderful guest, and everyone listening to this and all the other episodes in season 2 of No Hacks. I appreciate you so much. This means the world. Season 3 is coming back in 2025. One final question for you, my man.
Oh.
What is the one message you have for yourself 6 months from now?
Be focused.